Let's talk about the Marvels, the most recent film of the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm going to break this video down into two segments. You have number one. Let's talk about the Marvels. This movie sucked. There were still some good things I could point out from it, but overall, it sucked. And any good thing from this film did not at all make up for how bad it was. The Marvels is by no means unwatchable, but it's a really bad film. This film, you just have to know so much going into it, and I think that's why a lot of people didn't see it. I knew everything going into it, and I still didn't like it. You have to know Captain Marvel and her story with, the Captain Marvel, the first film, the Avengers films. After that, you have to know Monica Rambeau and what happened with her through WandaVision. Nick Fury, played by Samuel L. Jackson, and the events of Secret Invasion. Not as much Secret Invasion, but I think you should be somewhat familiar. And, that actually makes this film worse, seeing how that character was in this film versus how he was at the end of the Secret Invasion. Clearly, the teams did not coordinate that. You also have to know Miss Marvel from the Disney Plus show Miss Marvel. And I like that show, and I actually think the Miss Marvel character was a standout in this film, and I like to see where they go with her. Totally unrealistic superhero-wise that this character can hold her own in a fight, because I feel like she would get destroyed in any superhero fight with any villain, but you got to suspend that belief here. The Marvels are just a poorly done movie. How they tied that all in was really bad. How they tried to catch you up was really bad. There were just so many plot holes, more than I can count. There were so many things that happened to Captain Marvel in between the films that they just never showed you. Like this whole other movie happened that never really happened, and they try to tell you what happened. It makes no sense. The villain, Dar-Ben, was just boring. The trailers were very misleading because they made it seem like this was the next Thanos threat, and it wasn't at all. Just such a boring villain. The sets looked horrible. The dialogue was just so awful. The CGI and special effects looked terrible. Clearly, the quality's gone down with the quantity of projects. And yeah, it sucked. I will say that the chemistry between the three leads, Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, and Miss Marvel, that was decent. But, that's it. It doesn't make up for the fact that it was a horrible film. If you just like to follow along with the MCU storyline, and you're going to see it no matter what, because you just like to follow along like me, no matter how bad these movies get and how bad the shows get, I'll always watch them, then watch it. It's good to keep going along, and maybe the MCU will get better. But if you're looking for a good film, it's not going to be the Marvels. But, I'm going after the Marvels now because that's what this video is about. But the Marvels it's almost the same as, and maybe in some ways better than Doctor Strange 2 and Thor 4. I think they're all just very low points of the MCU. So that's that. And now let's talk about the MCU overall. The MCU is just on such a hot streak with those first three phases, known as the Infinity Saga, which started with Iron Man, a movie that wows me to this day. Every time I've seen it, I've already done a review on it, and just everywhere they went was just amazing. But then after the Infinity Saga, after Avengers Endgame, while there has been some decent projects since, some decent shows since, it's very obvious that the quality has gone down, and that the MCU, I think most can agree, at least it's my opinion, that it's been a very disappointment. Something changed. I feel like they stopped focusing on telling good stories and putting good storylines together, and instead are focused on jamming other agendas and motives and ideas down the audience's throat. And that's fine. If you want to send certain messages out there, I'm all for it. But at least do it and tell a good story. You don't have to pick one. But they stopped telling good stories. And there's projects like the Marvels and Thor 4 and Doctor Strange 2 where I'm just I can't believe people wrote this script and thought that they had something good here, shot this and thought this is something good to release to the public after all the good Marvel stuff. I just don't get it. So that's that. I still have some optimism about Marvel. I think the Deadpool and Wolverine film coming out looks very promising. And if that goes really well, perhaps I could put the MCU back on a good track. So there's that. I will always keep watching these films and shows. It's still good entertainment, even if it sucks, at least for me. So that's all here.